The chamber was cloaked in shadows, the faint glow from the fractured stained glass filtering through the dust-laden air, setting embers of crimson and gold across the ancient stone. As I took my first hesitant step into the sanctum, the weight of silence pressed upon me, broken only by the distant, haunting hymn that seemed to pulse with the cathedral's very heartbeat. My eyes adjusted, revealing walls etched with deep crimson stains, some dried and cracked, others fresher, as if the cathedral itself bled in slow agony. Sister Miriam emerged from the gloom, her ethereal form flickering like a candle in a draught. Her pale habit hung in tatters, and her eyes glowed faintly redder, spectral beacon illuminating the heavy script curling across the walls. "This," she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath, "is the covenant that binds us, the blood ritual that shackles our souls to this eternal melody." I stepped closer, my breath hitching as I traced the twisted symbols with trembling fingers. The inscriptions told a story etched in pain and desperation. Father Ambrose's forbidden ritual, meant to preserve the choir's sacred harmony beyond death. The ritual demanded a sacrifice, the surrender of one's very essence, locked forever in a song that could never cease. The choir's voices, disembodied yet piercing, swelled around me, the notes weaving a tapestry of anguish and yearning. Shadowy figures flickered at the edges of my vision, their faces smeared with blood, their mouths open in silent screams that echoed the hymn. A chill lanced through my veins as my hand brushed the cold stone, where a pool of dried blood seemed to pulse faintly beneath my touch. An icy sting surged upward, binding me momentarily to the choir's eternal song. I staggered back, heart pounding, caught between terror and a strange, terrible fascination. The music seeped into my skin, threading through my thoughts, threatening to unravel the fragile strands of my identity. Sister Miriam's gaze held mine, sorrow and warning etched into her spectral features. "The price," she murmured, "is the loss of self. To join is to become part of the hymn forever singing, forever consumed." I swallowed hard, the weight of the covenant settling heavily upon me. The choir's unending song was not merely a curse, but a prison forged in blood and music, a dark covenant that erased those who dared to linger. As the hymn swelled once more, I felt the first true tremors of the battle ahead, the struggle to hold on to my soul while the crimson choir sought to claim it. The cathedral's ancient stones seemed to close in, the air thick with a suffocating dread that mingled with a strange allure. How could something so beautiful be so deadly? The music, the blood woven together in a tapestry of eternal torment. I knew then that the next steps I took would not just decide my fate, but the very essence of who I was. I had uncovered the covenant, the crimson bond that held the choir captive and threatened to ensnare me. The question now was clear and terrifying. Could I resist the song, or was I already part of its endless refrain? With trembling resolve, I turned away from the wall, the hymn rising around me like a tide. The covenant's true horror lay not in death, but in the eternal possession of the soul, and I was standing at the edge of that abyss. The journey was far from over, and the cathedral's dark heart beat steadily, calling me deeper into its unyielding embrace. The cathedral's oppressive darkness pressed down on me like a suffocating shroud as I wandered deeper into its forsaken halls. The air was thick, not just with dust and decay, but with something far more intangible, an ancient anguish that seemed to pulse in time with the faint, otherworldly hymn that echoed endlessly around me. My breath came in ragged gasps, each inhale tasting faintly metallic, like the coppery temps of blood lingering on my tongue. I stumbled forward, guided not by light or reason, but by the relentless melody that clawed at my sanity. In a dim chapel, the fractured stained glass windows cast shards of red light that danced like flames across the cracked marble floor. The crimson hues stained everything: walls, pews, even the remnants of tattered hymnals scattered like fallen leaves. The hymn here was no longer harmonious. It had twisted into a discordant symphony of sorrow and torment, each note a jagged shard piercing the quiet. It crawled beneath my skin, threading through my veins with icy fingers that left me shivering despite the stifling heat. My mind teetered on the edge, caught between fascination and a deep, gnawing dread. Suddenly, the world around me shifted. The chapel's walls seemed to dissolve, replaced by a vision so vivid it stole my breath. Before me, the choir appeared not as they had in fleeting shadows before, but in ghastly clarity. They were bound by invisible chains of shadow, their faces contorted in eternal agony. Blood stained their lips and robes, mingling with the spectral glow that emanated from their distorted forms. They sang ceaselessly, their voices layered in a maddening chorus that echoed through the hollow spaces of my mind. The endless cycle of their hymn was a prisoner torment without reprieve. I staggered back, my heart hammering as the weight of their despair pressed against my soul. Their suffering was palpable, a dark mirror reflecting my own unraveling. The blood ritual that had cursed them had not granted life eternal. It had condemned them to a limbo worse than death, where music became both their salvation and their sentence. As the vision faded, a soft rustling caught my attention. Turning, I saw her sister Miriam, her pale form flickering like a candle's flame in the gloom. Her eyes, faintly glowing red, met mine with a mixture of sorrow and warning. "Elias," she whispered, her voice a fragile thread woven into the hymn's fabric. "The choir's song is a chain. To resist is to fight the inevitable, but surrender is to lose yourself forever." Her presence was a bomb and a curse, offering hope yet deepening the weight of despair. She spoke of the curse's origins, of her own futile struggle against the choir's grasp. Each word was a cryptic clue, a fragment of a puzzle I was desperate to solve. But with every revelation, the cathedral's grip tightened, and the hymn's notes burrowed deeper into my mind. I fell to the cold marble floor, the pulse of the cathedral's walls syncing with the relentless rhythm of the choir's song. It was as if the very stones breathed, alive with the cursed hymn that entwined blood and soul. The music invaded my thoughts, fracturing reality until the boundaries between what was real and what was nightmare dissolved entirely. Visions of Lena flickered at the edge of my consciousness, her face a beacon of both comfort and torment. The line between memory and hallucination blurred as the cathedral's living nightmare consumed me. My identity felt fragile, a fragile vessel threatened with shattering. The choir's voices rose in a crescendo that echoed through the cavernous space, promising both oblivion and eternity. I was caught in their web, a soul dangling between the seductive pull of surrender and the desperate hope of escape. My mind fractured further, teetering on the brink of madness as the endless hymn threatened to claim me. But within that torment, a flicker of resistance remained, a whisper of self that refused to be silenced. The question loomed: how much longer could I hold onto that fragile thread before the choir's possession became absolute? The cathedral waited, its ancient hymn echoing endlessly, a requiem for the damned and a siren call for the lost. And I stood at the crossroads, caught between the visions of damnation and the fading light of hope, knowing that the next step could seal my fate forever. The night deepened, and the hymn's notes wrapped tighter around my soul. The question was no longer if I would surrender, but when. The cathedral pulsed with sound, not the echo of footsteps or the creak of ancient wood, but the insidious, unyielding hymn of the crimson choir. I could feel it crawling beneath my skin. A melody that was less music and more a creeping, invasive presence, prying at the edges of my mind with relentless insistence. Each note was a sharp-edged claw, scraping and tearing, trying to unravel the fragile threads that bound me to my own identity. I sank against the cold stone pillar, its chill biting through my thin shirt and grounding me, yet it was no match for the burning storm that raged inside my head. My hands flew to my temples, fingers digging into the aching flesh as the voices swelled, their dissonant harmonies weaving a tapestry of dread that blurred the boundaries between the cathedral's ancient stone and the dark recesses of my soul. "Join us," they whispered, the voices layered like a chorus of ghosts, each syllable dripping with a promise of oblivion. Darkness pressed in behind my eyelids. I saw their faces, shadowy, blood-streaked, warped, beyond recognitions, singing with mouths stretched impossibly wide, their eyes burning with a crimson fire that seared through the veil of my resistance. The spectral choir members reached toward me, their translucent hands grasping for something I feared to lose, myself. A scream clawed at my throat, but no sound escaped. Instead, I clung to the fragments of my own music, fragments of melodies I had once composed in a happier, lighter time. I hummed, barely audible, a trembling counterpoint to the choir's relentless hymn. The notes were weak, faltering against the weight of their song, but they were mine. Suddenly, a flicker of light broke through the suffocating dark. Sister Miriam's ethereal form shimmered beside me, her pale face framed by the tattered habit, eyes glowing faintly red like dying embers. Her voice was a fragile thread woven into the choir's, overwhelming him, whispering cryptic warnings that barely pierced the storm. "Hold fast, Elias. The song is a prison, but your will is the key." Her presence was brief, but enough to anchor me to the last vestiges of my sanity. I focused on her words, her voice a beacon in the maelstrom. The cathedral around us seemed to breathe, the stained glass fracturing into kaleidoscopes of blood red and shadow that danced and flickered like dying flames. The air thickened, heavy with the scent of iron and decay, pressing down on my chest, making each breath a battle. The choir's song crescendoed, the voices rising to a fever pitch that vibrated through the marrow of my bones. Their demand echoed, a cruel ultimatum: surrender and join their eternal hymn, or be consumed by the darkness. My heart pounded, caught between the terrifying allure of release and the desperate need to cling to the fading fragments of myself. I gritted my teeth, refusing to succumb. I hummed louder, more insistently, my voice raw but defiant. The sound wove through the oppressive silence, a fragile shield against the tide of possession threatening to drown me. Time fractured, moments stretching and snapping like brittle glass, until all that remained was the clash of wills, my own fragile melody against the choir's relentless song. The struggle was exhausting, a war fought inside my own mind, with every note threatening to unravel my sanity. Yet, even as darkness crept closer, whispering promises of peace and oblivion, a flicker of hope remained, a stubborn ember refusing to be snuffed out. I did not know if I could hold on, or if the next breath would be my last free one. But in that cathedral, surrounded by the echoes of the damned and the eternal hymn, I fought. For my soul, for the memory of Lena, for the music that still lived within me. The battle was far from over, and as the choir's voices surged around me, I realized the true war was just beginning. The cathedral held its breath, waiting for my next move. The air thickened with a suffocating weight as I stood beneath the vaulted arches of the cathedral's nave. The stained glass windows, fractured like shattered jewels, scattered shards of crimson and violet light across the cracked marble floor. The haunting hymn, once a distant echo, now swelled around me. A relentless tide of disembodied voices weaving through the shadows and stone. Each note pressed against my mind, a tangible force that clawed at the edges of my sanity. I pressed my palms to my temples, desperate to silence the invasive melody, but it burrowed deeper, threading through my veins like a dark, intoxicating poison. The choir's song was no mere sound. It was a living entity, a curse that pulsed with the blood of those lost souls trapped within these walls. With every swelling crescendo, I felt my will erode, my thoughts slipping beneath the tide of the eternal hymn. From the gloom, shadowy figures emerged, specters of the crimson choir, their faces smeared with dried blood, distorted in silent song. Their eyes, hollow and unyielding, fixed on me with an impossible hunger. They advanced in unison, their voices rising in a terrifying chorus that echoed through the cathedral's vast emptiness. I staggered backward, heart hammering in my chest, clutching my head as the melody twisted and turned inside me, a snare tightening round my soul. "Join us," the voices whispered, a serpent's hiss woven through the harmonies. "Sing forever." My breath hitched. I fought to hold on to the fragments of myself that remained, but the choir's grip was relentless. The walls themselves seemed to pulse with the rhythm of the hymn, the stone breathing with a life that was both ancient and malevolent. The crimson light flickered like a heartbeat, casting dancing shadows that threatened to swallow me whole. In the midst of the crushing despair, a flicker of light broke through the darkness. Sister Miriam appeared beside me, her ethereal form shimmering with a ghostly pallor. Her tattered habit fluttered as if stirred by a breeze I could not feel, and her eyes glowed faintly red, filled with a sorrow that mirrored my own. She reached out, her voice a fragile whisper entwined with the choir's lament. "Resist," she mouthed silently, a cryptic plea that stirred a fragile hope in my heart. The choir's hymn faltered for a heartbeat, the spectral figures recoiling as if wounded by her presence. I seized the moment, forcing my legs to move as I pushed away from the advancing shadows. But the relief was short-lived. The cathedral's pulse quickened, the walls throbbing with the relentless rhythm of the blood-bound covenant. The hymn seeped into every corner of my being, binding blood and soul in a dark embrace that threatened to consume me utterly. My reflection shimmered in a shattered piece of glass, a pale, haunted face with eyes rimmed in shadow, lips trembling with the echoes of a song I could no longer silence. The inescapable melody wrapped around me like chains forged from ancient sorrow and cursed devotion. I was caught between surrender and resistance, the line between self and the eternal hymn blurring with every breath. The choir's voices rose once more, a crescendo that promised forever or oblivion. And in that moment, I understood the true weight of their demand. To join the unending song was to lose all that made me human. To become a whisper in their crimson choiran, unseen throat singing a requiem for the damned. But as the melody threatened to drown me, a stubborn ember of defiance flared within. Could I break the covenant? Could I escape this cathedral alive? Or was I destined to fade into the unseen hymn, forever lost in the blood and music? The answer hung in the air, unspoken yet undeniable, as the eternal song closed around me like a noose tightening with every breath. The cathedral seemed to hold its breath as I stood beside Sister Miriam, her pale form flickering faintly in the dim light that filtered through the fractured stained glass window. The hues of reds and blues fractured by time cast ghostly patterns across the cracked marble floor, a silent testament to forgotten prayers and shattered hopes. Her glowing red eyes fixated on a cryptic symbol etched deep into the cold stone wall beneath the window, an intricate pattern of interlocking lines and runes. worn by centuries, but still pulsing faintly with a dark, almost imperceptible energy. "This is the mark," she whispered, her voice like a thread of wind weaving through the oppressive silence. "A key, but not without cost." I traced the edges of the symbol with a trembling finger, feeling the chill seep into my bones, a shiver of both fear and fascination. The choir's hymn echoed faintly, a distant chorus of unseen throats, weaving a sinister melody that seemed to vibrate within the very stones. "How do I use it?" I asked, my voice barely a breath. Sister Miriam turned to me, her expression unreadable yet laden with a sorrow that cut deeper than the chill. "Behind the glass," she said, gesturing towards the shattered window, "lies a path forgotten by time, a passage that may lead you beyond the choir's grasp. But beware, Elias. The way is perilous, and the choir will not let you go easily." As if summoned by her words, a section of the wall beside the window shifted, revealing a narrow, dust-choked corridor, hidden by centuries of neglect. Cobwebs clung to the archway like spectral veils, and the air that emerged was stale yet tinged with a faint, otherworldly hymn. My heart pounded fiercely, a mix of hope and dread battling within me. Could this be the salvation I sought, or merely another trap, another layer of the cathedral's endless nightmare? Sister Miriam stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper that seemed to merge with the choir's distant lament. "The path ahead is fraught with shadows, Elias. The choir's voices will rise to claim you, and the blood that binds them will not be easily broken. But if you do not try, you are lost already." I swallowed hard, the weight of her words pressing against my chest. The cathedral around us seemed to pulse with a living heartbeat, the stained glass casting fractured light over ancient stone, and the whispered hymn growing louder, more insistent. I took a deep breath, steeling myself against the fear that threatened to consume me. "Show me the way," I said, voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Sister Miriam nodded solemnly and led me toward the passage, her form flickering like a candle struggling against the wind. As we moved forward, I reached out to touch the cold stone walls, tracing the faint glow of the runes that lined the corridor. Each step seemed to carry the weight of centuries, the dark covenant woven into the very fabric of this place pressing down on me. The distant choir's song swelled, a haunting melody that threatened to drown my very soul. Yet beneath it all, I found a whisper of hope, a fragile promise that perhaps, through these hidden ways, escape was possible. But as the shadows deepened and the hymn grew louder, I knew this path would demand everything from me. The cathedral was alive, its secrets vast and merciless, and the Crimson Choir's claim was far from relinquished. Still, in that moment, with Sister Miriam's cryptic guidance lighting the way, I chose to believe, to fight, to seek freedom from the eternal song, no matter the cost. And so, with a final glance at the shattered stained glass and the symbol that marked my path, I stepped into the darkness ahead, the weight of the choir's hymn pressing upon me like a living thing. The journey through the hidden passage had begun, one that might lead to salvation, or to a deeper descent into the cathedral's unending nightmare. The air grew colder, the shadows thicker, and the distant choir's voices rose in a chilling crescendo, as if warning me to turn back before it was too late. But I could not now. Not when the faintest thread of hope stretched before me like a fragile lifeline. I pressed onward, Sister Miriam's fading form guiding me through the labyrinthine depths, and the eternal hymn echoing behind, a relentless reminder of the choice I faced. Surrender to the Crimson Choir's eternal song, or dare to break free and risk losing myself forever. The cathedral's secrets awaited, and with them, the answer to whether salvation was truly possible, or, if I was destined to join the unseen choir, lost to the eternal, blood-stained melody.